All right. All right. It is 6 o'clock. We'll call the Toledo City Council regular meeting for March 19th, 2025 to order. Our first item is pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There it is.
No, it's can we the words after the Star Spangled Banner, you know what they are? Play ball.
Oh. Okay.
All right, I'll take a roll call. Councilor Kaufman is currently absent. Councilor Sylvia.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Mix.
Here.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Council President Bush.
Yes.
And here.
There's Andrew.
Andrew is excused. He is at a
On the
conference
road.
in Portland on his way back, hopefully. All right. First up, presentation by Mid-Coast Water Conservation Consortium, Water Resources Consultant, Suzanne DeShoki. Hi, Suzanne.
Hello, good evening. Should I go ahead and share my screen?
Please.
Okay. Okay, great. Can you see the water and the main slide?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me here. So yeah, again, I'm Suzanne. I'm with GSI Water Solutions, but I have been managing the Mid-Coast Water Conservation Consortium efforts since its inception. So I'm very familiar with it, and I'm excited to be here on behalf of the group just to tell you about it. Brian Lorimer requested that I come tonight. He is participating in this, and we have been developing an annual work plan, thinking ahead, and also discussing contributions of the different water providers. So we are coming to you with a funding request to see if the city would be willing to support the group. So to kind of give you a sense of what the group does, I developed this presentation. Okay. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background for those of you who may not be familiar with the group. The group really formed out of a number of factors. One was there was a lot of enthusiasm around kind of water issues on the coast. The Mid-Coast Water Planning Partnership formed a number of years back, and a lot of folks in that group throughout the Mid-Coast expressed interest in more water conservation. So some of those participating, including water providers, got together and kind of talked about how we can make it happen. So that was one motivation. Another was there was seen to be a need for consistent messaging about water conservation. There had been a drought declaration in the region, and there was some organization that needed to happen that wasn't as fluid as the group would have liked. So that was another thing. Another is that a number of water providers in the region are required to develop water management and conservation plans. And that includes the city of Toledo, which has one currently. And each of these plans has a section dedicated to water conservation. And the water provider needs to talk about what it's doing under certain categories to conserve water. So thinking about what a water conservation consortium could do is try to help address some of those or answer to some of the questions about what kind of water conservation work are you doing. And the city's next WMCP update is April 4th, 2027. And then the last piece is just limited resources. There's a lot that folks want to do, but of course there's time and financial resources. So the idea is that by coming together as a group, more could be done around water conservation. So Midcoast Water Conservation was formed, and for short, we go by Midcoast Water. Its goals are to improve water supply resiliency, promote water conservation, and share resources and knowledge. The initial members included Toledo, Seal Rock Water District, Lincoln City, Yachats, Newport, and Waldport. Other water providers are participating now, and the goal is to have as many water providers as possible participate. So I'll just run through some of the benefits. They include pooling resources to be able to do more than what an individual could do. Another is that coordinated messaging to try to reduce confusion among customers who may live one place but work another place, and then, have friends or family in other places, and there's different messages coming out related to water conservation or droughts. Another is increased communication, can help strengthen regional relationships and partnerships, and collaborating together as this group could strengthen the chance of getting some grant funding around some of the activities that the group wants to do. And then activities also build more resilience. So the group working together, the different water providers working together, can help each other with addressing drought and water shortages and emergencies. Other two benefits are that, as I mentioned before, water conservation activities can be included in the water management and conservation plans. Things like some kind of financial assistance, technical assistance, education and outreach. Those are areas that need to be discussed in these plans. And then the work of the Midcoast Water Conservation Consortium is also supportive of the city's drinking water protection plan, which it completed in 2023. There's a specific strategy to address risks to the city's water supply that is focused on public education and outreach. And the plan talks about water conservation outreach as being an important strategy. So to give you an overview of the kind of activities of Midcoast Water, those include, and what I'm talking about now will be ones included in this upcoming fiscal year, water conservation outreach. So it spans press releases, newsletter articles, outreach that can go into bills or little messages, social media, website content, and consumer confidence report content. And a lot of it's developed, so we provide a menu, and then water providers can select from that menu and use what works for them. And here are just a few examples. So for billing inserts, we've got the Midcoast Water logo, and then we have what we kind of work together to develop as the major message for that given time of year. So if it's for water, talking about ways you can save water. I mean, if it's for summer, talk about ways that you can save water in summer. And so there are different icons and some quick bulleted information. We often point to the website so people can get more information. This is another example for consumer confidence reports. Again, just trying to be eye-catching and have major messages about saving water indoors and outdoors. And then this is an example of a social media message that we put out in 2023 related to a drought emergency declaration for Lincoln County. And it just, again, encourages people to conserve water and gives them some ideas on how to do so. This is the website. If you have a chance, I encourage you to check it out. It has a lot of information, some of what I've talked about today and more about the efforts. And then as far as additional activities, we have been growing the types of activities that we're doing. And each year, the group of water providers discusses what kind of activities of interest they have. And we are hoping to build momentum over time. So we're a growing group. And some of the activities that we've been recently adding include hosting a booth at events and giving out things like a kids activity sheet and flyers and bookmarks to give people some kind of material to think about and encourage conservation. We have been starting to reach out to vacation rental companies to develop some kind of support to help them with conservation. We do bulk purchasing of conservation items like leak detection tablets, faucet aerators and shower heads and shower timers. We are working on student education and partnering with educational groups in the region to get the word out about conservation with kids in fun ways. And then some of the other things that we do include developing the annual work plan, reaching out to water providers, participating in regional collaborations. Midcoast Water Planning Partnership is an example of that. One reason why we're, for example, wanting to work with them is they developed an action plan for the entire region, a whole suite of different ways to help improve water management and conditions in the Midcoast. And they call out the Midcoast Water Conservation Consortium a lot for ways that it can help support efforts related to conservation. And then the group meets monthly. So as far as membership, water providers can ask to participate at any time. And as I mentioned before, the scope and budget change annually, and they depend on what the water providers decide they would like to implement in a given year. But we try to be pretty consistent to help sustain an expected kind of array of activities like the outreach materials, and then trying to grow some. And the financial contributions are voluntary. Each contribution of each water provider goes towards supporting the overall project for that year, or efforts for the year. For this coming fiscal year, we are estimating a $58,000 budget, and we are suggesting a potential contribution from Toledo of $4,500 for this next fiscal year, which would represent 7.8% of that budget. And we try to base that suggested contribution on, the size of the community and number of water connections. So yeah, that's a quick overview of the group, and here's my contact info too, if you'd like it, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, council?
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
So first of all, can you tell me what a consumer confidence report is?
Yeah, it's the annual water quality report. That's an older type of language used. And I think it's moving more towards that annual water quality report that water providers have to put out each year, saying, hey, we tested for all of these water quality concerns and we're tracking it.
Okay. And my next question is kind of half a statement, half a question. We every year at National Night Out, we've been handing out what we have for water conservation, things that I'm assuming might come from you guys. I'm not sure, or at least get some. But I'm wondering if you guys have thought about doing tables at each of the national night outs. So you can
on that.
so you can outreach to the community, because you can answer more questions than we can. I mean, I'm handing out water faucets and timers and those little blue tablets, and telling the kids that they can do all sorts of fun things with those shower timers that their parents don't know about, and just trying to get them out there and get them interested. But I'm wondering if it would be if that's something that you guys could do as an organization to also bring a table to it and maybe expand that outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that we've talked about and are planning for. We're tracking the dates on that. So,
Great.
And we have also provided materials for Toledo's Emergency Preparedness Day in May.
Fantastic.
And if there are any other events that you are interested in having us at, please let us know.
Summerfest, middle of the summer.
Okay.
So are you guys completely independent, or are you affiliated with the state, or?
Yep,
How does that
independent.
work? Okay. I'm just worried about everything that's being axed from Washington, if you would be affected by that. I don't want to give you money and then you be axed.
Nope, independent.
Yeah.
It's just whatever
Okay,
water
perfect.
providers are willing to contribute.
Are you a 501(c) or just a corporation organization? Where do you classify that?
We call ourselves a consortium, and how it's set up is each year we develop a contract, and then they hire us as a consultant to fulfill the tasks in that contract.
Yeah, I was just wondering if the Midcoast Water
Partnership.
planning partnership was if it was a 501c3, then individuals could donate too. But I didn't know how that works, so that's why I was
No.
asking.
We're not.
Okay.
Any other questions, council? Thank you, Suzanne. As always, you're informative and to the point. I appreciate that.
Great. Well,
Thank you.
thanks again for having me.
You bet. Our next item is visitors' public comment. Visitors are welcome to speak for 3 minutes on any topic. Please sign in and state your name for the record.
So I was concerned of the presentation that was going to be given today. I've been hearing a lot about new legislation.
State your name, please.
Excuse me, Cynthia George, Pioneer Trail. And there's been a lot of talk about legislations that are going to be proposed about water and monitoring water and what's happening with our water and all the rest. And they're literally talking about monitoring individual personal wells. And so people are very upset about that, but it seems to me like we've done nothing to protect the water that now you're also concerned about. So that, and I'm hoping that you guys all saw what happened in Douglas County yesterday, where an entire mountain came down and has pinned off a community. And they think it's due to the clear cut that happened on the top of the mountain. And all the residents below are losing the mountain on top of them. And it is not stopping. It's going to continue to go. And so that is, yeah, as you know, my concern with what's happening all around these hilltops. And I've got them now logging right above my home. They're putting in a Weyerhaeuser cleared all the mountaintops. And now they're coming right. There's going to be no separation anymore. And we're on an extreme landslide. So, you know, hopefully we don't all end up on Highway 20. And that's the other thing. There's supposed to be an emergency preparedness plan that's being made for the Olalla Lake. Nobody was concerned about the lake and that dam that's holding all that water back. When we all started talking about the dam over in Fairport, everybody got concerned about that. And nobody was worried about this one here. Well, GP's got an engineer coming in because obviously there is concern. And if you think about it, we're doing nothing but building more and more. And all that's going to be, if we have an earthquake, it's going to take out the highway, the mill, all of it, if you think about it. So.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anyone else in the audience wish to address council this evening? Lisa, is there anyone online?
If there's anyone online who'd like to speak to the council, please raise your hand electronically and you will be recognized. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Thank you. There is no consent agenda this evening. Our next item is discussion decision items. First item up is approve an expenditure of $202,489 for the replacement of the Ammon water tank.
So you have in your packet a report from the director who unfortunately could not be here this evening, but Jeff is graciously made himself available for questions. This is the engineering work that needs to be done in terms of preparing the design for the water tank. We will be so that needs to proceed. That bond was passed, I believe, in May of 24.
Correct.
We a little late on the financing because of some of the changes that have occurred here, but I have called into the bond counsel, the bond underwriter. And so we will move that along. So that between this particular effort with the engineers and that's being done, the financing, I think we are ready to kickstart this project together.
Excellent.
And if you have questions on that, Jeff is in the audience. They can answer any particular questions.
Any questions, council?
Well, I'm excited to get it done because it's in really bad shape. I would just love to see us put a couple shipping containers by it once it's replaced for emergency preparedness with supplies for the community. Yeah.
Entertain a motion?
What do you think?
I'll move to approve an expenditure of up to $202,489 for the scope of services provided by Civil West Engineering for the replacement of the Ammon water tank.
I second it.
Been moved by Tracy, seconded by Kim to approve an expenditure of up to $202,489 for the scope of services provided by Civil West Engineering for the replacement of the Ammon water tank. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman.
Yes.
Counselor Sobia.
Yes, sir.
Counselor Burns.
Yes.
Council President Bush.
Yes.
Counselor Mix.
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion carries 6-0. Next item, approve an expenditure of up to $96,866 for sewer main lining on Northwest French Street and Southeast Alder Way.
And these are projects that believe that have come your way in the form of I&I work, inflow and infiltration work that needs to be done on the line and is continuing to be done on the lines. So this is two separate efforts that will be spearheaded again by Public Works and engineering services. So again, Jeff is here for any questions that you might, specific questions you may have on the projects.
I have one. Jeff, I'm looking at these estimates, and it says, and I'm just trying to understand them a little bit more. It says Northwest on this one, Northwest French, 466 feet on Google Earth. And and a couple more using that description on the next one. Is that just how they measure it by Google Earth?
So for an estimate, yes, that is how they measure it. However, our experience with, in this case, West Coast CIPP, which has done a number of our lighting projects.
Yeah.
The actual cost will be the actual footage. So that footage that you're seeing there for using Google Earth is just for the estimate.
Okay. Great. Do you have any idea,
Like what percentage of Toledo we have lined and what we have left? Like, do we have an idea where we're at in the whole overall project of doing this across the city?
In 2011, we did an I said. Civil West did. And there were 13 main areas that needed to be repaired. And with the exception of probably one or two, this is number 10.
Oh, wow.
At least,
So we're getting there.
at least Alder Way
Okay.
is number 10. That was project N for that project. French Street, now a couple of years ago, we had French redone. We did the water line, we did the street, and over the last 12 months, we've had at least 3 critical deficiencies that we've had to spot repair in
Okay.
that pipe. And since that pipe is part of it's not part of a force main, but it does come from Lincoln pump station and pumps up there and then basically drops down French. So there is a significant part of Northwest Toledo that pumps from there to the next pump station downstream.
Okay.
And so honestly, French, by doing this, that completes that street.
Wow.
And the thing about French is that it's one of the oldest parts of Toledo.
Okay.
really?
Yes,
Older than Main Street?
no,
Oh,
it's not. But
why not?
in terms of when you look back at our maps and you look back at our history, that is definitely one of the older parts of Toledo. Some of the oldest houses are over there.
Any other questions, council? Right. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve an expenditure of up to $96,866 for street improvements on Northwest Front Street and Southeast Alder Way and authorizing the execution of the service contract.
A second. Give it to Tracy.
Oh,
I have to abstain because you're not financially benefiting from it.
I'm being a smarty.
Maybe she would if she didn't have to miss work.
It's been moved by Frank and seconded by Tracy to approve an expenditure of up to $96,866 for street improvements on Northwest French Street and Southeast Alder Way and authorizing the execution of the service contract. We'll take a roll call vote. Counselor Hoffman.
Yes.
Counselor Burns.
Yes.
Council President Bush.
Yes.
Counselor Mix.
Yes.
Counselor Soviet.
Yes, sir.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next item. Discuss options for city council goal setting. David?
So my understanding is you might be a tad late on this. And I expect there's probably a reason for that. Tongue out of cheek now. So my experience in virtually every city I've ever worked is councils try to get together on an annualized basis. And I think you do the same pretty much to, in a more relaxed setting, to talk about your, in general about your goals, generally about any issues that are, just bear a little more conversation, a little more just sort of get to know you kind of conversations. They typically take place after an election, after a seating in of an election, like as you happen here. Now, there's only after one new councilor here, so you know each other fairly well. But nonetheless, these are good practices. These are best practices, frankly, to get together, circle around and talk about a handful of goals, not more than a handful, because from each and every goal comes a slew of objectives and tasks for your staff. And not to mention the workload they already have, and plus we're lucky for your staff. That'll be the next couple of items. But and then on the normal circumstances that I've worked in, it's so that your city manager, in this case myself, can participate fully in those conversations, as well as any other staff you may wish to have along. We would engage facilitation of some kind on your behalf. I have a name that I know or two. The mayor has visited me a little in advance. We have a couple names that we're going to explore. So this is really the test of waters of your interests. I would truly request it. You have to meet in the city, but if you have a location where you can sit, in a more relaxed setting with really comfortable chairs, and we can deliver pizza or something, whatever it is. If we can do it over the course of a weekend when you're not just, you're not distracted by work, that would be truly ideal. Half a day, probably no more than that, because we start losing everybody's focus.
Go ahead, Tracy. You got that smile.
Oh, I'm thinking like city goal setting retreat at Shawshan or something.
I'm just thinking you need somebody that can rein us back in when we're on top, because we get off task a lot.
We really are silly.
We see every.
usually have somebody.
So, yeah, but the last time we did this, I remember they were like so stressed out by the time they were done.
I could probably find you somebody that can make it. I know one, but I don't know if he's this person. He's long retired, and dragging him back out of retirement might be a challenge.
Last time we just did it in.
Well, I'm wondering about like the empty church. They let us use it every once in a while, right? I mean, would we?
Yeah, the downstairs of the
Yeah.
Episcopal Church, that'd be a good idea.
There's also the downstairs in Black, we did the game night.
Well, remember, he said comfortable chair.
That's- yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, and downstairs of the church, it's not that comfortable, is it?
Away, so if you walk in, all you see is the kitchen area. If you go in and then take a left, there's a whole, for lack of a better word,
Are you talking about the church up by JC Market?
no.
No. Oh, okay, so I haven't been in that one,
The one
sorry.
in the arts
The
district
one in
here.
the
Oh, okay, the one that,
Lisa,
By law, now that we do electronic meetings, we're gonna have to be able to have a facility that can offer the Zoom
What
capability.
about the fire station? That room is comfortable.
I think this room is more comfortable than the
Yeah.
fire station is.
Yeah, but there's
What's
a
the
whimsy like.
Yeah. What's what?
yes,
Do you have a specific issue with our chairs? We did.
well, the chairs in the bottom of the Episcopal Church are like easy chairs, lazy boys. That's what I meant by the difference between you and them.
Well,
We weren't trying to insult the library. We love you guys. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
It's
Lisa,
gotta be
so we
on
have to
camera.
do it in a place that has Zoom capability.
For the public to attend, yes.
David, can I make a suggestion? just find a place and tell us where we're gonna meet.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So if you could just find the date.
May,
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
So I would like to get you together sooner rather.
well, you're gonna have to do it that
Yeah.
way. I'll try. I mean, whatever date you come up with, I'll try, but.
What if we went for,
You want us to Google calendar, you just doodle or a doodle calendar, pass that around and see what works out for folks.
oh,
Be fine. We're gonna pick a Saturday soon.
how would the 19th of April?
I will be on a road trip to see my daughter.
Oh, never mind.
She's getting
Never mind. That's even
married.
more important than the other
That's
thing.
Easter weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna miss that for anything.
No. That's me too.
Fly to Dallas on the 20th, but maybe the 19th.
You want us to doodle calendar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Call out of town.
So is Saturday sort of a good day to shoot for? We could just at least limit it to Saturdays so the first go around, see if that works. And we would be looking probably, I don't know how like people like to sleep, so maybe 9 to 1.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
How about 10 to 2?
Yeah, you can get me on almost any Saturday as long as I can get out of there by 3 or 4, because I'm committed to a bunch of stuff going forward.
No, it will, we can just get it done and get it over.
You shoot for that Saturday, a Saturday and that 10 to 2 or 9 to 2, 9 to 1.
I mean, realistically, even if it's, you want to do it that soon, if we can do it in the first 2 weeks in April, I'll just take a Saturday morning off and make it happen.
Well, I assume, so I was presuming Saturday was probably the best common day, but is it the best common day?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. All right, so
I
thank you
think for the majority of us, it works best.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor, for your flexibility. So we'll try to nail that down. I still have to find facilitators available on that day as
Yeah.
well, so.
All right. Next item, oral report regarding recruitment to fill the human resources position and finance director position and the city manager position. David?
This is me, so if I could, I'm gonna cover a little ground and I might cover more than just that, if you don't mind. I think of it, so let's start with the most successful start place first, and that is in the area. I've added an item to your agenda, but if we could just kind of combine those two, that one and the next one, we'll deal with it. Let's talk about finance. You have, in your budget, you have positions of finance director. You had a finance director up until relatively recently. You have a position of HR professional. You've not had an HR professional in years. But yet nonetheless, it's in your budget, and I can tell you that it's mission critical to fill that position. You need to find the new me, in the coming months as well. And then as of today, we're going to be looking around for legal services as well. So I am pursuing all of those things at this point. And with respect to the finance, a name very familiar to you, Judy will be available, your former finance director, Judy Richter. I was going to say Strickland. Judy Richter is graciously agreed to come work for the city on a remote basis, 10 to 20 hours a week at a rate that does not exceed her prior earnings, and in fact is a savings on her prior earnings when looking at total compensation. So I need from you an approval to do that, because you, for the charter, hire and fire is on you. And so I'm looking for that tonight. We can circle back on that one, but she's ready to go immediately. And she's very agreeable to staff. It's somebody that has is somebody that everybody knows and trusts and can do the work, can provide the support without having any need for ramp up time, which is hugely important right now. That will be that, like myself, is an interim position that will, pending a recruitment for a finance director, we will have that person who would agree to service fully and in fact make that recruitment, complete that recruitment. So probably the timing on that would be similar to the timing on your city manager recruitment.
May I ask a question about finance director before you move on to your other stuff?
Sure.
How common is it to hire an outside contractor to do your finance? Like, are there groups that do that for cities?
Yes. And it is very common, and particularly in circumstances like this where if I were to go recruit finance director right now, it would probably be months to secure that position. We've been without.
Yeah, okay,
And
yeah,
we're well behind.
Right.
On things.
I just didn't know if that was common and if it worked better for cities or.
Well, I know we don't want to go with COG again.
Thank you, Tracy.
Right, like I said, I named the name out loud, so I was just let you know, I think the responsibility for who to hire is obviously the city manager, but I made the authority to hire.
Right.
But in this instance, I think my understanding is people are, Judy, I think she left in good standing. She did good work for you. I think the only criticism I've heard for her is she's she picks the miss. She's extremely diligent, which in a finance professional is not a terrible thing. And so, somebody to keep somebody like me honest. So, anyway, again, I'll be looking for the authority to fill it that way. It is, again, to your question, Counselor, it is in fact common, particularly if you're trying to do something quick on an interim basis, you have a specific project, whatever, the workload itself is a defined term, as this would be until you recruit.
Okay, so normally they don't do it for long term. They
Some do it for long term. Don't get me wrong.
That's what I was gonna say. Were you asking for long term or short term?
I'm still very unfamiliar with how city government works, and I don't know if one works better or is less money or like, I just.
Yeah, it depends on the size and the activity level of the community. So for instance, many communities are large enough to be able to have their own in-house CPAs, there's certainly full charge bookkeepers and the like. And that's what, your most recent finance director served in that capacity. This would be replacing that need, but over the long haul, I think, I'm confident you need full-time services. So we are going to use this person, economically to do the most important things until we can fill the position. Ultimately, when the position is filled, then we will have, we will provide the necessary relief in the finance department that it needs. Otherwise, somebody's head's going to explode.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear long enough to see that it's going to happen.
David, are you asking us for feedback today as to whether or not we would like to go with Judy?
No, I'm asking you for the authority just to go forward and hire on a contract basis, a finance professional on a temporary contract. I provided you the details because I had them.
But you're not giving us the choice as to who?
No.
But aren't we I'm confused because I thought you had to give us the choice.
No, I can come to you with yes or no answers. I'll let Mike answer the question of whether I can have to give you a choice or not.
I don't want to.
So as I understand it, and I could be wrong, but as I understand it, firing requires specifics.
Okay.
Hiring just requires position knowledge.
Okay.
I think that's right. And honestly, at some point, if you're going to pick and choose from the people that I hire,
No.
you probably don't need me to do the work.
No, that wasn't what I was saying. I was confused as to whether or not when you hired or fired somebody, if you had to come to us each time and say, this is who your options are, who do you want me to pick? I didn't know whether we were just granting you the authority or whether or not there were more specifics involved.
So if I was coming, I think the answer would be if this was for the position, the full-time regular position, I think I would need to come to you with a name. Because that's who you're being asked to hire. What I'm asking for you is for to engage a firm. And I'm treating that as if it were a hire. Or a person as a contract temporary person. So I don't know. I'm saying firm, I'm using that. I don't think she has a firm, but.
No, I don't think she needs one though. I think she's fully qualified on her own.
So David, you made reference to
if it's outsourced, you know, some cities choose to do that
Yes.
depending on their size. Where do we fit?
Oh,
Do you have a sense of that yet?
you know, for your size, having a finance director, he might not be the role, frankly, but for the level of activity you have here, when you include the urban renewal, when you include the SIP program that you have from the county, when you include, you know, a fire department, for instance, that's not always common in a smaller city, then it's not unusual to see a fire department be part of a fire district. So you're providing a breadth of services and a number of employees that just expands the game regardless of your population size. So, I mean, you're not far from the equivalent number of employees authorized that I had in Independence, a city 3 times the size.
Okay.
Because you provide more, you know, you provide a greater breadth of service in that sense.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Otherwise, I think a city of 3,500, you know, not the norm, but not unusual.
We're in that weird position of we may be 3,500, but our budget, if you look at our budget compared to other cities of 3,500,
Right.
it's a bigger budget.
I appreciate the explanation. That helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I make a motion?
Sure.
I would move to authorize, interim city manager, Mr. Klein, to recruit to fill the, to authorize you to hire a part-time finance director. Is that what I'm shooting for?
Yeah, and part-time temporary would be even helpful.
Okay, yeah. So that.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Been moved by Tracy, seconded by Frank. To authorize city manager pro tem David Klein to hire a part-time temporary finance director. I will take a roll call vote. Councilor Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilor Burns,
You betcha.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Councilor Sylvia,
Yes, sir.
Councilor Mix,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Can I make one comment now that we've already done that?
Yes, you can.
Judy is amazing. That woman can make chicken salad out of chicken. We've seen her do it.
Yep.
She can take a mess and make it work.
That's awfully good to hear. It's really helped me sleep a little better on that one particular item when she said yes to the conditional proposal.
So is it too early to say, welcome back, Judy?
No, it's not our decision. It's not our decision.
It's,
Please welcome back, Judy.
to give you a bit of history on that, the reason why we fist bumped when we said no cog is Judy had to come in and untangle we'll just say the stuff that was left. And it's not because I think there was any malice of forethought. I just don't think they understood municipal budgeting.
And COG is what?
Council government.
Council governments.
Thank you, Frank.
They tried to help.
So thank you.
Yeah, you tried to help. This just
Thank
wasn't.
you.
Thank you for.
Did you want to continue on about human resources?
I do. So I am soliciting a proposal just at this point, just a limited proposal from the Lane Council of Governments, because this is the kind of thing they do. To provide a similar service, somebody that would come in and help us establish really or reestablish the HR function centrally within the city. Right now, we have a very decentralized system, and that is just a little bit of a formula for failure. So we need to get on that. We need to come back to you with HR policies. We need to update the content classification plans. We need to make sure that we're processing things as we should. Everything that has to do with the HR function, which it truly is a job in and of itself, a big one. To get that set up and then at the same time start again recruiting for the position that you've already budgeted. So we've got a fair amount of salary savings because we never filled the position. So that would be, I'll come back to you, but in each instance, the money is there because you saved the vacancies.
Who did you
Who did you name?
I haven't named an individual, but it would be like a Lane Council,
Lane County Council of Governments.
Okay,
yeah, the same people that you.
That's what I was looking for.
and that would just be temporary until we find somebody.
Exactly,
Okay,
same situation.
okay.
So, I mean, you or us may fall in love with the service, and if they're willing to provide a continuous, that's one that may be able to do on a part-time remote basis over the long term, once it's established. But there's a good deal of work that needs to get done.
We have to get a baseline.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
As soon as
when was the
possible.
last time, have we ever had an HR person in?
no,
Like a full-time, consistent, yeah.
but we've been
But
looking
again-
for one for years.
Yeah, I know
When
that.
I started in, let's see, that seat down there where Jackie is, the HR rules were like this thick. Now they're that thick. So it's becoming more and more prevalent that no matter what size your city is, you have to have the HR function somehow.
It goes in the category of risk management, right?
Well, that's one of the things we were toying, we always wanted one, but never got to that point. And Judy said, we need one. So then we started getting serious and had the position and it's never been filled.
You do.
Oh,
Again, there's remnants of the cat.
we were lucky we got a finance director that worked HR.
So
Some.
I think we'll see a proposal from them sometime early next week. I will be coming back to council as soon as I have that. Try to get that up and running. I view that as very critical to for you to reestablish this operation a little better.
City manager position.
City manager, same formula. And so far, if you're seeing a pattern, it's because it's the easiest way to do business. And where you work from where you sit at this point in time, when you're sitting with vacancies and recruitments take a while. You have me in this capacity that I'd like to have HR and finance, in the same capacity pending filling all these positions. So for now, Lane Council of Governments will be submitting a proposal. I'm going to contact a couple of other recruiting firms. There are several in the state of Oregon that do fine work. There's one or two that do terrible work. I won't be contacting them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And try to get you some proposals. I don't know what your imagination, where it sends you on pricing. But, these things, there's always sticker shock when you see some of these things, but then again, think of the cost of failure in all these areas.
Well, we've already seen the cost of failure in some of these areas.
Right, so right, so whatever, I'm recommending to you some things that are gonna cost you some money up front, the cost of city money up front, but again, this is in the nature of saving you long term and everything. So finally, and as of today, you have received a letter from my chair, my table chair. Our city attorney who has decided he's going to choose a different path of life. Somebody that over the short term, I frankly have relished his knowledge. I think he's a very, it's been very helpful to me to get up and running on your behalf. So I'm just going to say that. Anyway, with Mike choosing to move on, we do need to move on as well. I want to pursue this from the same formula. So you're used to in-house counsel at this point in time. I gotta tell you that it's extreme.
We've had both.
So you've had both, and that's extremely rare, and you still can make that decision in the future. But I think in the short term, I want to talk to firms about stepping in because all manner of legal expertise is needed to run a city. And you really don't want to have to train that up in a hurry. Or have to start searching, find an attorney, but then they have to go find somebody else to do land use, or they have to go find somebody else to do HR. On and on. There's a lot of areas of law that get practiced on behalf of cities. We do a lot of different things.
As I understand, Select has just gone with a firm out of Newport, I believe, and they cover all the different areas.
What's the firm?
I don't know the firm, and I don't know if you've talked to Willie about it.
No.
But as I understand, they've hired a new firm out of Newport. That's what Ron's understanding was. And they seem to be good.
I can reach out to Mayor Warman
Yeah.
and get what firm it is.
That'd be fine. Again, I will contact a couple, three different firms, but I think this is one where, again, I'm gonna come to you and say, I wanna move quickly. And then if at the end of the day, after you've been able to do an RFP, if you decide to request for proposals, if you decide to do a firm or a solicitation, if you decide to do an individual again, we'll have somebody filling in the gap in the meantime. I don't know this firm in Newport, so I don't know who you're talking about. Every firm is gonna have to do, there's not a lot of firms that do this work well. And so those that do it have a lot of clients, municipal clients, and so frequently you run into conflict problems because they can't represent parties that have, that have potential conflicts against other parties. Yep. So that's just a normal thing. So we'll have to sort through that, and the firms have to sort through that. But I will try to get you somebody in here that can absolutely step into the business without having to spend any time gearing up, very little time gearing up, short of picking next spring. We're already working on that a little bit. And then, and then long haul, you'll have a more relaxed way of looking at that service for yourselves.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Any questions for David? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And that's just coming to you as informative for now, but you'll come back to you as decision guidance later.
Okay, good. All right, committee, department updates, Lisa?
I have none, thank you.
Okay, Chief Page?
We transitioned from the dispatch to the BCC on Wednesday. We had some minor hiccups. But we're now running with CAD system slowly, and then the new RMS reporting system. We have 2 of our dispatchers that are still left that are be transitioning new roles here in the future here.
You said RMS, right? Not URMS?
RMS.
Okay, because I just URMS and I'm like, I'm sure he said RMS.
There's CAD, which is a computer aided.
Okay.
Computer aided dispatch, which is supplied by Salem Dispatch,
Okay,
which is Citrix. I can't remember the name for it.
It's over.
And then
I just wanted to make sure I was.
the RMS is Mark 43.
Okay,
So Chief, you said running slowly. And you mean as a transition or?
With any change, there's hiccups, there's adapts, we have to adapt and stuff.
Okay.
Some things just don't go as smoothly as we anticipate or we hope for. And so my team's been very adaptable in going with those things, that unexpected things that came up. WVCC hasn't brought on a new organization in quite some time. And so there were some hiccups on their side, there's some hiccups on our side. So it's just, getting to that point where we're both doing comfortable with transition.
Stressful time.
Oh, yeah.
How has data transfer been? Is it working the way it should?
Data transfers means a CAD or?
Well, so all of our old data
Yeah.
getting put into their system. Is that working as planned or is that part of a hiccup?
So they're not gonna transfer any data into their new CAD system, but we were contemplating transferring data into the RMS. If we did a full data transfer, it'd be $250,000, which is cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
It would take up to a year to do so. So we actually thought about transferring just our evidence in there. And that was gonna be $50,000, and that's also cost prohibitive. And it wouldn't allow us to put any evidence in like a month or so. So what Wendy is doing actually is she's taking each section and she's inputting it into the new system, which allows her to do an inventory at the same time and audit for the vault. So it's something we actually needed anyways. It's our time to do it. And so
great timing.
kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Good.
And she's awesome at doing it. So it's going along. So
Good. Any other questions for Chief Pace? All right. Harrison.
The ILS migration happened and we've yet to have our all libraries meeting post-migration, but Newport, Driftwood, Tillamook County are all on our catalog, on our ILS, so we're supporting them in that transition right now. Going pretty smooth. Things have definitely picked up, which is good. Usually in a morning, we'll have 10 to a dozen holds to pull. That's items requested by patrons. Now with all of Tillamook County and the rest of Lincoln County on there, we're holding a holds list pretty steadily of 10 pages of, 20 holds per page. That's for the whole network, because that's 2 entire counties. They're not all ours, but it's, yeah, it's been good. There've been a few little bumps in the road. A couple patrons turned 124 briefly, but we got their ages back down. I should say our service provider did. So other than that, it's steady as she goes, and I'll have a bunch more coming to you soon. Actionable stuff.
What happens if you actually have a patron that's 124?
They need bike bubbles.
We we get them whatever they're up to me.
Yeah, right. And deliver it.
I'd be that.
Thank you, Harrison.
Yep.
Chief Robison.
Same as Chief Pacer, we migrated over to WV, some growing pains with it, some mapping programs are like sending us, like the call we just had, 1,000 sent Siletz and East County. And then we were kind of like a spectator and joined in afterwards, but some of the growing pains we knew would be there. It's inevitable. The reception on Fire One is light, to say the least. Tomorrow that's getting addressed and it should be tuned up good by about 1 o'clock tomorrow. So that's kind of a larger conversation among it all right now is the switch.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I have a couple more points, things to get back to you on when you circle around.
I'm kind of working my way up the chain, as it were. Mike?
Provided David a list of all of our outstanding litigation, tort claim notices, complaints, and working on a list for the transition. Provided the 45-day notice required by the contract. And I want to thank you for the chance to be the city attorney here for the 9 years and six months.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
You don't want to hold out for your 10-year?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a good time for me and I think it's a good time for the city.
Yeah, I can tell.
David?
Yeah, I don't know if I should have included this earlier, or are you planning to come back to me anyway? I don't know.
I'll always end with the city manager.
Okay, that's a good place to always end. Yeah. So the Alala project, the housing project, I just want to let you know that is, we met with our engineers yesterday. We are going to have a kickoff meeting with all the whole project team here very shortly. We have a scope of work that's within my spending authority, so I'm going to go ahead and have the engineers get started on some preliminary survey work and project administration setup. So that's underway. We have a schedule that should see our part of the project done by the end of the calendar year. December 25, we will be meeting with the project owner and architect to make sure that they can get in the ground when they need to get in the ground, depending on where we stand with water installed. We're not going to be able to do a loop line. I'm not sure if that came to council as a possibility. That's a bit much. It'll take too long. That will probably appear in your updated water master plan at some point in time, but we are going to extend the existing line, the 12-inch extension for as long as it takes to get to the project site and do what we can to meet the fire marshal's needs on that effort. So that is underway, and we'll have that kickoff meeting shortly. Okay. The only other item I want to make sure you understood is we are late, but we are getting going. You've seen the notices on this, the budget process. It's a good 2 months behind, 2.5 months behind. And so that's another reason I needed somebody on board, finance on board. So we're getting after it, and hopefully we will just work with a compressed time frame. But there are notice requirements. You have to have a budget committee put together a meeting, and that the council needs to get together and meet as well. And June 30 is the very last legal day that we can adopt a budget. So we understand that.
Any questions for David? All right, I'll move on to council comments. Councilor Kaufman.
Thanks.
Councilor Sylvia.
Oh, I've known today.
Councilor Mix.
Thanks, so.
Okay, Councilor Burns.
Covered your bear.
I have extra food if you need it.
I got nothing.
Council President Bush.
I have a question that I have absolutely no idea if it belongs here or not, but I'm gonna throw it out there for everybody.
Go for it.
There is an abandoned sailboat in the river. And there were actually people stopped looking at it and I stopped and talked to them. And they said it was bobbing around the river for a while near Newport, near the bay. And it's washed up and it's tipped over. I don't know how much water has come into it. Do we contact the Coast Guard? How long do they wait before they retrieve it? I don't want that crap leaking into the river if there's,
I actually have seen that boat.
Yeah.
It's gone back and forth.
like, it's just bobbing.
Would it
Just,
be the Corps of Engineers?
I don't know, but what do you do?
No,
Like,
I think it's Coast Guard.
I would really like to get it before the mast goes upside down in the muck and it's impossible to get out.
We'll follow up.
Yeah,
We'll make the call. whatever
I'm
it
still
is.
new to the coast, so I don't.
I may put the hitch on my vehicle to the.
Yeah. But I think that's the only thing I can think of right now.
I just want to say thank you, Mike, for your years of service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Totally. With that, don't look at the time, but it's 7:02.
You're 32 minutes late.
Sorry, you can still get